Some may ask why we aren't bombing the mountaintops off of Afghanistan. Why aren't we just obliterating the place? Well, I've answered when people ask me this that is what I call option B. What we're dealing with now is option A, meaning that before we go out and kill everything that moves, let's try something which won't lead to that. And what is that, actually? Actually, that's not the policy of the country, that's just the smart military strategy. But the current plan is something called counterinsurgency. Counterinsurgency revolves a lot of things. And as Marcus Luttrell himself said, the notion that simple countering strategy works alone is a fallacy. Because to quote him from his book, American Sniper, the fact that counterinsurgency and the surge was able to happen is because he killed so many Sorry, you don't want any cursing on the veterans page, because we all know veterans don't curse. We're highly... We don't drink, we don't curse, we don't gamble, we don't swear, we're fine gentlemen. I won't for you. I'm assuming when Boone gets back, I can talk like a normal human being. What Kyle said is that they killed so many bad people that the surge was able to work. The surge, basically, was where you had the Sunni awakening. The Sunni awakening in Iraq was when the Sunnis in Iraq realized that they wanted nothing to do with the Sunnis from Afghanistan. They were Iraqis first. They wanted to watch bad 70s American TV shows, drink Coca-Cola, smoke Marlboros, and go dancing, and had no intention of, dressing up their women, being shot for speaking ill of the Prophet Muhammad. They had no interest in that. Plus, they realized that we were going to win this battle. They were basically waiting out to see who was going to be the strong horse in this race. And as Kyle said, they killed so many bad people, they realized, yeah, we're going to win this. So they came over to our side. That was the Sunni awakening, the beginning of the counterinsurgency. What is counterinsurgency? What is hearts and minds? Hearts and minds is when you basically try, when a bigger force is explaining to the guerrilla force, or not the guerrilla force, they're explaining to the populace that we are in fact the good guys. All we want is the bad communists, be it in Vietnam. All we want is the bad jihadis, be it in Iraq or Afghanistan. Give us them. These people aren't even your friends, because just like in the Sunni awakening, they're going to kill you. They're bad people. You don't want to be involved with them anyway. We'll build your schools. We'll feed the kids. We'll bring you medicine. We'll protect you. We'll secure you. You can go live your life in peace. Do whatever it is that you want. You can pray to whomever God that you so choose. You just can't hurt other people, preferably. And you definitely can't attack us anymore. And we seek the enemy. It's to convince them that their enemy is really our enemy, and that we have no ill intention. Remember, these people don't have televisions. They don't have, for the most part, don't have that great of an access to the world and the media at large. So we have to explain to them that we're the good guys, and it involves slowly targeting the enemy, figuring out the inside politics of each neighborhood. Believe it or not, IEDs aren't random. There's a strategic different complicated issues going on within different families, within different clans, as to why they want to protect a certain neighborhood, why they don't. I mean, maybe the baseline is that they hate Westerners, that's fine, but there's different reasons and different competing terrorist organizations that vie for control of certain areas and certain neighborhoods and certain resources in certain regions. It's not just random that there's a strategy, as odd as it may be. There's a guerrilla strategy. And there's no, people always quote The Art of War, of how guerrilla forces can win a battle. They don't read the part that the Art of War also talks about how big forces can defeat small forces. It's in there too. You can win this. There is victory. It's not a lost cause completely. What is the insurgents' mission? The insurgents' mission, when it comes to hearts and minds, and they did this in Afghanistan, is to weaken the populace. This plays in the populace of the invading, quote-unquote, military. This is a lot easier to do for most insurgents because they're working for non-democratic movements, be it the Kong or be it the Islamic extremists, be they in Afghanistan or in Iraq. When they take over, they have no plan for democracies. They plan to rule with an iron fist, which means they're not responsible to a people, to a governing body. They're not elected representatives, but they understand in Western democracies, the military is run by civilian leadership. Civilian leadership is elected by the populace, which means that the real power comes from the populace. Can they win a war by setting up an IED and killing 5 Marines? Not really. They can't win on the battle. That's why they do all these run-and-hit tactics. But what do you learn in every counter ID class? There's a triggerman and there's a cameraman. Because without a cameraman, there's no real victory. The death of that particular vehicle or this particular convoy is not victory. They're not gaining ground. That's at least in Iraq. There's certain places in Afghanistan. In some places, there's no kidding that they actually want to hold the ground. But for the guerrilla tactics, they don't want to hold the ground. They need that videotape. They need that propaganda piece. They need to send a message to the home population of the invading country. You with me? That your boys are going to come home in body bags. They did it to the Afghanistan. They did it to the Russians in Afghanistan. We did it to the British. We led them into a prolonged war, and the British population during the American Revolution said, enough. It's far away. I forget it. Leave them alone. After 10 years in Afghanistan, with help of the CIA, the Mujahideen beat the Reds. They beat the Soviets. They were just, we don't want to see our boys come home anymore like this anymore. This is why George Bush is a great man, a flawed man on domestic spending, but that doesn't matter here. When it comes to talking about this, he was absolutely brilliant. And the history books will be written about him, especially if things work out. Hopefully things don't get messed up right after him enough to where that his achievements get thrown out with the bathwater. But this is why he did not want the flag-covered caskets being shown on television, because it would be used as a propaganda tool to demoralize the American populace. The mission of the insurgent, when it comes to hearts and minds, is not just hearts and minds of the Iraqis or of the Afghanis. It's our hearts and minds. It's our will to fight. Now, if you notice, that will to fight is gone from the American people. It's completely gone. It's non-existent. Non-existent. This doesn't mean that the enemy is dead. Doesn't mean that the enemy is defeated. They've grown tired of fighting. And that's an insurgent victory. When they can tire the American people, destroy their will to fight. You know that thing when you're in school and a bully punches you in the face, where you wake up the next day and let's say you didn't confront them directly afterward, or you didn't respond well, and your food tastes bad. It's just your life feels diminished. You feel small. You feel abused. You feel helpless. That's what the American people feel like at this point. On a side note, okay, so in the political sphere, the Iraq War was attacked for being based on lies. That's me. But the original war, at least before it was politically cool to say that you don't want to deal with the war in Afghanistan as well, originally the war in Afghanistan was the correct war, the righteous war, the good war. And even the left and the usual voices in the anti-war crowd were screaming that, we took our eyes off Afghanistan and we went into Iraq. Fine. Although it appears now, you'll hear this constantly. You'll hear of unending wars, plural wars, as in like the first war, which supposedly was started after we got attacked on 9/11 by Islamic jihadist savages. It's not a curse word, but I think that's actually worse than a curse word. Savages. It's a pretty strong term. Anyway, that was our response to them. So, but there were certain people, including Islamic jihadists, who realized that 9/11 was not working for them in the PR field. It wasn't coming off as a great victory. The entire world was standing with the United States after 9/11. I mean, countries that we hadn't talked to for years were giving us condolences, and they went, So they came up with a couple of things. One of them was that the Jews did 9/11, or that the government did 9/11. This was from propaganda jihadi websites. And so the notion is that we were back to this, to where America was the enemy, is to keep the focus, to make America the enemy. Now, Alex Jones bought into this completely, where America was the enemy. It was the fault of the United States for anything that happened around the world. Not only that it was our actions overseas that caused Islamic radicals to attack us, although we fed and saved more people in the Islamic world than I care to count. And this whole notion that we armed the Mujahideen in the 80s. You'd think they'd be grateful. How about a thank you for getting rid of the Russians for you? No. They're going to attack the West. Okay. So it was Alex Jones and his ilk who not only propagated disgusting theories about the United States, and I'll admit there were some intelligence failures within the United States, and what Alex Jones does is it makes it very difficult for anyone to talk about real intelligence failures. Because if you talk about intelligence failures, and you talk about the New York FBI office, you talk about Ali Muhammad, You talk about the bombing of the USS Cole, the blind shake. You talk about the failures of the 9/11 Commission report to actually fire anybody after 9/11. How it was all awash so that all the directors and the heads of the FBI and the CIA could stay there. And instead of actually fixing the current intelligence agencies, they just added a new one, Homeland Security, as if another government agency is going to fix their current broken ones. It didn't follow the deaths of Mayor Kahani and how all these very same actors from the 93 World Trade Center bombing, including Ramzi Youssef, Khalid Sheikh Mohammed, the guy who was waterboarded, is the uncle of Ramzi Youssef, the mastermind of the 93 World Trade Center bombing. Yet in the 9/11 Commission, we start off with KSM. Now that's a problem in the 9/11 Commission report. However, if I mention this, if I mention any question, if I doubt anything in the 9/11 Commission report, if I doubt what the truthers call the official story, I now look like a truther. So I can't even bring it up in a rational conversation when I have real criticisms of the New York FBI office specifically about the things that they could have and should have seen about Jamie Gorelick's wall between the FBI and the CIA. I can't bring them up because of people like Jones. But more importantly, Jones played into enemy propaganda. Jones specifically was involved in demoralizing the American public from the will to fight by taking away the moral high ground for why we were at war. Now, of course, his response would be to me is that he is the true patriot, and I am the one who is pissing on the graves of dead Americans, and he is the one who is standing for. He lives in the backwards world where the whole America is the American firster crowds. Blame America First crowd is really what they were. Gene Kirkpatrick talked about this under Reagan. Their entire ideas of foreign policy went out the window after we were attacked by Pearl Harbor. After Pearl Harbor, the whole idea of isolationism and non-interventionism went out the window. After 9/11, the same thing happened, and the same thing that should happen with these people. Alex Jones, because of his disrespect of the victims, and I know, he'll say that I'm the one who's disrespecting the victims by covering up the truth. Not only does it really, it's so astoundingly, frustratingly horrible on such a deep level. It stands right up there with the Westboro Baptist Church. Alex Jones and his cronies should be treated like the pariahs at the Westboro Baptist Church. Nobody likes the Westboro Baptist Church. White national movements, racist movements, despite what this administration thinks it's not the Tea Party, but whole other discussion. Real white nationalist movements have distanced themselves from the Westboro Baptist Church. Their children are leaving the church when they grow up, and they realize how hateful it is. Alex Jones spews hatred and vile, disgusting filth that demoralizes our country, that hurts our country, and is losing the real battle for this war, which is in the hearts and minds of the American people. So I don't want to see veterans groups or shows for veterans, other than them telling veterans that they shouldn't be cursing, which is just odd. It's not really a home for veterans then. I don't know what that is. But okay, we won't curse for this video. I've managed to do it in 13 and a half minutes, and I haven't cursed. It's vile and decrepit. I'm not asking you to take it down, because that would look like you're backing off to me. I'm explaining my position on this guy. The guy is poison, and it's unfortunate that he's become this popular. That with the internet, and with even people like Joe Rogan, who was a big 9/11 truth guy, has kind of backed off of it. He's dangerous to political conversation. This is why Piers Morgan has him on television, because they could point at him and go, "See, America, that's the right wing for you." It's not the right wing. It's important for us to differentiate from people like that. It's not like that. Obama tries to do it with people like Limbaugh. He goes, they're all with Limbaugh, that crazy guy. It doesn't work. It doesn't work. It works with people like Alex Jones. If we get lumped in with people like Alex Jones, you're going to lose the argument immediately, just by association. And that's my position on Jones. Thank you for your time.